welcome back to the River's Edge. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Christy Mattoon, who is the creator of Mind Rewire, where she teaches you how to reprogram your subconscious. And she also authored a book called Change, and it also tells you how to reprogram your subconscious and rewire your brain. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy to have you here. I'm so excited to learn about, so everyone can learn about what you do in your company. And well, maybe you can start by that, telling us exactly what Mind Rewire is, what your company is, and what you do for people.
Yeah, Mind Rewire is basically online classes, courses, coaching. I work privately with people. I have all different kind of mediums and ways that we can work together. Basically, what I'm doing is teaching people how to rewire their own subconscious. So I help people through it and walk you through it, but the gist of it is to teach you how to do it. So I think being able to work through your own subconscious issues when they're happening is way more powerful than having an issue and fighting through it and then going to see somebody once in a while. If you have the tools in your pocket to do what you need to do, subconscious stuff becomes a non-issue.
Can we start from the beginning and just say, what is subconscious versus conscious? What is the subconscious brain?
Subconscious brain, if we're talking about brain space, is basically the neural things that you've stored over your lifetime, and even, if you believe in past lives from other lives, right? So it's stuff that's been stored. You could consider it genetic knowledge, right? So genetics is stored knowledge. It's part of the subconscious programming. And in your mind, in your brain, the stuff that you've been taught, the things that you've witnessed, things that you've watched, all the stuff from school, things that you do repetitively. So somebody trying to learn a sport would become subconscious. Something that you do just automatically. Emotions, unfortunately, can become subconscious. And that's where people find big struggles. If you have an emotional turbulence that becomes subconscious, and all of a sudden your body and your mind are just giving you this information and you don't know why, this is where people run into what we call roadblocks.
So what's an example where you would have a roadblock? Like if something happens and you get the same emotion every time, that is what you mean?
Kind of thing. Yeah, so a good example would be, I'm going to use confusion as an example for an emotion. So the emotion of confusion creates just like, you don't know if you can do anything, right? Or you're just confused about what's going on around you. So in my own life, confusion was like the biggest emotion I think I understood. Everything to me was confusion. Everything for the longest time. And even when I started doing, and this is how it can trail you through your life, when I started trying to understand how to create these courses online for people, oh my gosh, computers were so confusing. It was crazy. Like the simplest of tasks, I would make it so hard because it's what my system knew how to do. And it was all programming. Oh yeah. And it was all programming from my childhood.
So you could actually probably normally understand it pretty easily had you not had the programming that you made everything difficult and confusing.
Right. And then once you know that, we go from subconscious to like, now I'm realizing this is hard and it's not hard. I'm making issues out of non-issues and I have no idea why. Now it's conscious. I know there's an issue. I know there's a problem. And a lot of people get hung up in this place too. They'll think that, okay, this is a subconscious issue, but then they'll sit there and detail for me what's going on. It's this, it came from here. Like they know that's not subconscious. That's a very conscious, like, you know what's happening.
You seem pretty conscious with that.
Yeah. And then, like that's easy to attack, right? That's easy to come against because you do know all the information about it.
So is it true that is it 6 or 7 years old, they say your subconscious is pretty much all programmed by then, your beliefs, your patterns, or is it an older age, do you think? Or do we even know?
They say, science says 7 years old is about the time. And under 7, what it actually is that your mind is more like a sponge. So everything is over. It's almost like you're in a state of hypnosis. So it's your brainwave state is higher than what we operate at after 7 years old or as adults.
Theta, right?
You still have the capacity to change things. You still have the capacity to, learn something new and actually get it into your subconscious. It's just more of an effort after 7. From 0 to 7, you're just a sponge. right? So if things are really shoddy in your house, or you live in a place that's super aggravated, or, you know, you have a mom that just has issues and you grow up under this, you know, narcissism's a good one. I hear from people who live under the guise of narcissism all the time. And it's just tough because they grew up watching those patterns. That's where my confusion came from. Nothing made sense because I watched a narcissistic mother programming these different children, and every single one of us had different information. It was
What
a
about
wilderness thing.
that? Is wild that you can live in the same household, grow up together, and be so different.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what your perception is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And how much does genetics play a role in that? Like, rather than not how you're growing up, but you're just born into it before you even are born. You already are predisposition for certain behaviors or programming.
Well, and I think that happens a lot. So there was an experiment done, and I'm going to say it was a while ago because I remember hearing about it a while ago, and it was done on mice. And these mice, they stuck into this cage, and they had this little maze they had to go through to get to food. They had to do a certain thing to get to the food, kind of idea. And one of the things that they were doing was giving them the smell of cherry blossom. So they put the mice in the thing, and they had to follow the scent of the cherry blossoms, and then they would get all this food. And they came to understand that when they smelled cherry blossoms, if you followed the trail, you would get to this, you know, pot of food. And so they would get all excited when they smelled the cherry blossoms, and they would go scampering off to the food. Well, then they mated them, right? They mated the female mice with male mice. Both had the cherry blossom experience. So they both knew it. And these babies were born, and they put the smell of cherry blossoms in, and guess what happened?
They
got all excited. No, they got all excited, and they went running towards the food. Pre-programmed into the system, right? It's kind of a genetic idea. Over time, what happened was they mated some of these babies with mates that didn't have the cherry blossom experience. And then the cherry blossoms they would put the smell in there. Some of the babies would get excited, some wouldn't. So some knew the patterning, some didn't.
So it was, because it's.
Yeah, half and half. And then over time, I think it was within 4 generations, it had totally washed out of the system. It may have been 4 or 7 generations. So, I mean, weird things can get stuck into the genetics of a person and become a subconscious type issue. And it's really different programming. It's in a different level, but it's still the same kind of idea. And you can still change it. You can override some of those things. I think it's Dr. Bruce Lipton I heard saying that truly only 1% or less than 1%, if you're talking disease patterns, 1%, less than 1% is truly genetic. The rest are environmental.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, even though it gets programmed into your system because you think that's the way it's going to happen, I believe that's the way we have been programmed by Western medicine, by the big pharma companies. You have been programmed to think that by a certain age, you're going to have one of 3 diseases. You're either going to get cancer, diabetes, or something else. Pick one, right? So, and then if you're in a certain age group, we've been programmed to believe that in this certain age group, these certain things will happen, and you will start aging even more rapidly, right? So after 50 is a good one for that, right? And it's just interesting. After 50, you age more rapidly.
Yes,
right?
I've noticed that.
What we're told, and it becomes part of your programming because it's what you believe. What would happen if you didn't believe it?
I know. What if we believe we got younger and thinner as we got older?
My guess is it's exactly what would happen.
How can I program myself to want to eat greens all day?
I would find a feeling. So it's all associated, right? So if I want to eat greens out all day, you could either do it by trying to force it down your own throat, which isn't going to work because you're going to have.
It hasn't worked so far.
No, you're going to have a bad feeling to it, right? Because you're going to try and eat the greens, you're going to get this bad feeling. Your brain logs the feeling first. The feeling will show back up next time you look at greens, and you're going to get this feeling like, oh gosh, I have to eat those again. Right? Yeah. So you have to find a feeling to it first. You have to find a feeling that actually feels good and use that feeling and then try to associate it to eating greens all day long. So I would take the feeling of this river behind you, which I'm absolutely in love with. And I would sit, oh, the ocean, it's beautiful. And I would sit there feeling that, and I would try and find the energy to it, and then I would eat my greens. Now, if you did nothing else, you could over time, probably 30 days, because that's how long it takes to program a habit. Over time, you could get that programmed into your system. When I see greens, I feel like this. Right? It feels good. It feels great. Instead of, oh, no, not again.
Sorry, Sammy. I personally, I love greens. I don't have an issue eating greens. I just use that as an example. The issue is like, how do you eat when I want to eat emotional stuff? When I emotionally eat, I go to the bad stuff. Like yesterday, I ate McDonald's and it was delicious. But I don't want to eat. I know. Look at your face. Everyone's so grossed out by it, but I enjoyed it. But I don't want to eat that, right? Because it makes me feel terrible. I feel bloated. I feel gross. But I still eat it when I have that I have some emotional connection with it, I guess.
I would assume, right? So in getting rid of something like that, I would take you through a process, either using a whole brain state to that issue or in heart coherence, and train you how to be in heart coherence. And the easiest way I think I would do it is I would get in heart coherence and go look at the restaurant. And I did this years ago when I was trying to lose, I was over 300 pounds and trying to lose all this weight. I would literally, and I did this very intentionally, drive to a McDonald's and sit there and then tell myself, you're not going in today. And then I would go to the Burger King and do the same thing. I would go to the Wendy's and do the same. And it's like, you're not going in today. You're not going in today. And I did that for like 2 weeks solid. Every time I passed one, I would stop and deliberately look at it and tell myself that. And then at one point, probably 2 or 3 weeks later, I noticed I was driving past one and I had no reaction to it. And I was like, oh, interesting. So that was repetitive action. That was a repetitive motion I did over and over to get a desired result. If I had known about heart coherence, I probably would have taken it straight into my heart and said, heart, you're done with McDonald's. And my heart would have been like, yeah, you are, that's right.
But that's like once every couple of months it happens.
Yeah, I would take it to my heart. I would put myself in a heart coherent state and then talk to my heart, or the way I would verbalize it is I talk to my spirit, because that's where spirit resides.
And then you're reprogramming your beliefs about eating McDonald's. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, and so your heart's connected to your brain, right? Your heart sends signals to your brain about whatever's going on. And if you're putting something positive in it, it takes intention, very intentionally putting a positive something in your heart, your brain's going to get the information too. And if you use both, I'm using thought form, I'm using talking to my spirit, and I'm using a high level of feeling, right? So in that space, you're going to get compassion, gratitude, love, peace, joy. You're going to get attributes of the spirit, because that's what's there. And in those high level of feelings, I come back around and I look at McDonald's, and all of a sudden I just feel peace. And I'm like, I don't need that.
What if it's not? So I just use McDonald's as an example because I ate there yesterday, but
it could be anything. It doesn't matter.
So you don't focus on McDonald's, right? You focus on.
I focus on my peace. Right. I don't even focus on a healthy body. I focus on the peace, because it's the level of emotion, the chemicals that it gives you inside your system are what end up healing the body, right? So on a physiological level, if I'm trying to break that pattern of eating McDonald's because it makes me feel crappy, and I go focusing on, I don't want to eat this, it's the first thing you're going to want. And so then
go ahead.
I was saying, so then if you say, okay, well, I'm not going to focus on not eating it anymore, I'm just going to notice it when it shows up, and I'm going to put it in my heart space, and I'm going to go straight into gratitude.
So when the emotion comes up, or the trigger, whatever it is that makes you want to eat, is when you just go into the heart and gratitude space.
Your heart space, and go straight into gratitude. And then just stay there. You have to just hang in there through it.
You know, sometimes I just need to eat something to take the edge off. If I'm feeling like I just don't want to, I don't know what it is. I don't go into the why and how, why am I feeling this? What is it? I'll just eat a little something, and I'll be like, okay, now what's going on? Chill out, take some deep breaths.
And so maybe instead of doing that, go into coherence first, and then try and put that into your system. Because if I'm coherent, if I'm truly coherent, I'm not going to want to put something in my body that's going to hurt it.
Right.
But
really,
you have
I wasn't
to get
coherent
there.
Yesterday.
You have to be coherent first. Yeah, and it's practice. It's literally a practice of getting there and staying there and recognizing when you are and recognizing when you're not. You have to practice.
Right. And you have to be, so do you have well, I guess the clients that would come to you would already have some level of self-awareness, right? That there's an issue.
Most of them do. Some of them don't. I have a young man right now and I'm actually really struggling even getting hold of him, who literally thinks his spirit left his body. He had a very traumatic incident, and everybody where he's at is just telling him, "You've lost your mind. You're just insane." And I'm like, I don't think you are. I think you had a huge traumatic incident. There's like something really massive went on, and it totally knocked him out of coherence. I think it knocked him out of his own body.
Right. So he's not able to call you back right now. So he's processing whatever he's going through.
I don't know. I think he's just struggling in general, and so it's hard. We keep missing each other. It's really weird. I'm just like, okay. And so I'll just text him and say, okay, here's what I'm doing right now. If you can, jump in on it with me. And so we're long distance, kind of vibrationally meeting each other and just working as we can.
Right. So if someone is struggling in life, they have certain beliefs about life is hard, it's really hard to make money, whatever it is, it doesn't serve them, and they don't do any of the reprogramming of the subconscious, then they just spend their lives fighting that belief all the time, or life is more difficult than it needs to be. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and you will, right? If you think life is hard, you're going to make it hard. And then you're going to do things that make it hard. So it's going to pull everything towards you, that vibration. And what I go looking for is literally the vibration of it. What does the vibration feel like? Can you find that vibration that gives you that feeling that, oh, this is about to get hard? I'm in a situation right now that's just really bizarre. In my head, I'm just like, what on earth is going on? And that's what I'm doing, is looking for the vibration of it. It's involved legal people at this point. We've got lawyers involved. And I'm just sitting back going, okay, compassion feels like this. This feels like this. I'm like, how weird. Like, what is in me? I asked my husband this morning, what is in me vibrationally that I keep attracting this kind of stuff?
And how do you find that out?
I just feel for it. I will sit down and go, okay, it feels like this. Where is it inside my body? Outside, right? It feels a certain way. And then I go searching through the inside of me and I'm like, oh, because you can find it. If you're aware of what it feels like, you're going to go through your body. And most people I work with are able to figure, they'll stop someone and be like, well, there's something weird like over my liver or they'll start telling you body parts. Like over here, it just feels really strange. We'll do a little work surrounding that area. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that feels way different. And then they can, in their heart, find compassion or find gratitude, where before they might not have been able to feel it so strong.
So you would put the focus on, if it was over my liver, to put the energy and focus over your liver and get in the heart space?
Not the energy. I would just focus on, okay, if that's where you're feeling it, now let's go. I'm going to find coherence and compassion in myself. Mine is a huge compassion focus right now. I'm going to find compassion in myself. If I'm working with somebody, I'm sending that level of compassion. And we're just, until their feeling changes to whatever they're noticing. If they are trying to get heart coherent, I'm sending it straight to their heart and then letting their body help their body process whatever it is going on. So usually once you're heart coherent, the pathways in the brain start releasing relatively quickly.
So what if you have an injury? Like I pulled a muscle in my back, from my lower back to my groin a few weeks ago, and it's extremely painful. And like something like that, I don't know how I did it. I have no idea. I just know I'm in pain. Like, what do you try to go in and figure out the energy of that pain in your body?
Yeah, and it's not hard to figure out because you can feel it. You know what that pain
it's very
feels
obvious.
Like, right? Yeah. And so that's what most people focus on then. They focus on that level of pain. And what heart coherence will do for you is, instead of being in that level of pain, you come back into your heart and you just sit in, and I'm going to just say compassion again, whatever shows up for you, right? The level of vibration itself will conquer whatever's going on, but you have to be able to retrain. And this is where some people get super stuck. Retrain your brain well enough that you can just focus on compassion or peace or joy or whatever it is, without, like, the world doesn't have to stop. It's not going to. Most people think if I focus on compassion, everything around me is going to stop. Probably not. The world will keep happening, right? You're going to injure your back again. The thing's going to happen. It's going to be less likely the more coherent you stay. But until you can get into this place where you can stay coherent pretty much all the time, and that's, I mean, I'm just a really good example of this right now. Staying in levels of coherence is changing the situation like moment by moment. It's just interesting.
Oh, wow.
To watch it play out. Yeah, it's so bizarre.
Is staying in the present the same as being in heart-brain coherence?
I don't believe you can be in the present moment without being coherent. Because
so
if you're in
the present, it's the same.
Yeah, if you're in your brain, you are in polarity, right? Yes, no, do, don't, can,
Totally.
can't, should, shouldn't. If you're in here thinking about whatever's going on, trying to find an answer, you're going to go into the struggle. You're actually looking for what does Abraham Hicks calls it, the difference in the, oh, what is the word I'm looking for?
Not the vortex, the polarity, the different, I don't know.
No, when you can feel it, you know, when it's bad, or when you can feel it when it's good, the difference between the two. I can't think of the word they use, but it's that same idea.
I've listened to her so many times. I don't know.
There's like this one word that I'm like, oh, that's the word, but I can't think of it. But that's what, if you're in your brain, that's what you're doing. The contrast. You're in the contrast. Here, your heart doesn't do the contrast. Your heart does attributes of the spirit. And if I stay in that, what happens is it sends a signal to my brain, and it tells my brain to send out these good chemicals throughout my system that give you more of that. It gives you more peace, more joy, more love. It gives you oxytocin. It gives you serotonin. It gives you different
all those
levels
lovely chemicals.
Yeah, all the good neurotransmitters. And then you're just
That's
like,
awesome.
oh, this is interesting. And it's a different level. It's a more inward level of law of attraction. It's how it works on a chemical basis. Right? If I'm in love, I'm emitting the chemicals of love. My biosphere around my body, the electromagnetic field, is full of that vibration, and then that's what I attract to me. And love, that vibration brings better things, right? It doesn't bring low-level things. It brings high-level things. And so it brings the stuff that you're really wanting in your life, the good stuff.
So it's a process, right? It's a practice you got to get into and do it daily, just to, I mean, be in the present. And anytime the word should enters my mind, I'm like, oh, no, I should not do anything. I hate that word. You should be happy and do what you want to do, not you shouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But how long, so it is a practice, but how long does it take to, because I still work with or struggle with things that I have my whole life. Sorry, there's a bug in front of me. That I have my whole life. I mean, it's better. It's definitely better than it was. But I guess, how long does it take to, I know there's no answer to that. I know that. I wish you could just say it takes 5 minutes.
And it can. It absolutely can. And it depends on your level of focus. It depends on how high you let the vibration get. It depends. I mean, there's a lot of little factoids in there, I think, that have to happen. But I think if you hit the mark and then you repeat it and your body starts to learn it, your body will give it back to you automatically. And that's the true retraining of the subconscious. Am I retraining my system to go back to compassion if A, B, or C happens? Right? When I recognize I can be in this situation and still stay in compassion, I'm taking notes inside my head and my heart. Right? And then all of a sudden your body will go back to it. If it's something that you're stuck in that like keeps recurring and happening and over,
like my knee pain, we'll use that because I talked to you about that before.
Yeah, and it could be something underlying, and knees represent what?
I don't know.
Movement forward.
Oh, the hip, I guess the same thing. Hips and
knees
hips and
knees represent movement forward. So if you're like hesitating and that's
my
part
whole
of
life I've been hesitating, apparently.
Yeah. Part of a vibrational pattern. And if you can break the pattern effectively, my guess would be all of that would go away.
So I have been doing the focusing and the love and the gratitude with my knees, and especially more so since you and I spoke maybe over a month ago. But there's no difference. And I'm like, am I doing it wrong? Like what am I missing here?
I would say the movement forward, the momentum in your movement forward. I think you're playing catch up with yourself. And I just know a little bit about your story and like getting this going, what we're doing right here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So I'm catching up, and then my knee pain will go away when I am caught up. When I feel like
all the conditions have to be met. And this is another thing. People are like, I just want the magic pill. And so you're sitting there paying more focus on the pain itself than you are getting your momentum forward, which is, we're human. That is what we do. Right. And then you have to realize that and go, okay, I'm just going to really focus on doing this forward motion and see how the pain reacts and keep raising the vibration higher and higher. Eventually the body has to heal. If it's a physiological issue inside the tissue or inside the joint itself, that high vibration, that high level of vibration and the higher chemicals in your system will cause a healing effect inside the system. It has to, but it has to be sustained.
It'll be interesting to going forward, exactly what you just said. Doing the catch up, and whenever I'm doing it consistently, moving forward, because I've lived in fear and not lived up to my potential my whole life. So moving forward and seeing what happens and putting myself out there and doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
See how the pain, dissipates or goes away in my knees. That'll be awesome.
And it's literally the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Consistency counts. Level of vibration counts. And it has to be in this consistent all the time.
Right. So do you have, I'm sure you have examples of people you've worked with where they're able to let it go like this. So I have no hand now. but these backgrounds are so weird.
Yeah, very strange.
But you must have examples all over the place where some people can let it go like that, and other people, it takes a long time, right?
Yep. And so how I would explain this to you, I actually just did a video on this on YouTube about consciousness and levels of consciousness. A lot of times when people are talking about levels of consciousness, they're talking about planes and different levels you can be in, or like this is a consciousness. The earth has its own consciousness, right? Animals have their own consciousness. We have consciousness. The fire has a consciousness. The water has a consciousness. The level of consciousness that you're at any given time will make a difference, right? So my level of understanding, your base of knowledge makes a difference here. So if I have somebody come in the door and they have been working on this and working on this and working on this, but whatever concept they were working with didn't quite hit the mark, but they're still stuck in that concept. They're still stuck at that level of consciousness where law of attraction is a good example of this. Law of attraction should work this way. This is how I learned it. And there's so many teachers that teach this stuff, right? This is how it was taught to me. And then you realize, oh, it's only vibrational. Like, what does that mean? That's all I have to do is raise my vibration? That's it. Is there really a vortex? I don't know. I haven't seen one.
Well, when she says vortex, I just take that to mean that you are being in the present in heart-brain coherence. That is the vortex.
And it might be. I have no idea. I get all kinds of weird visuals with that one, and I'm just like, huh. But what I found out is vortex or no vortex, the heart-brain coherence, it's that level of vibration. Mm-hmm. Right? And if the vibration itself meets the mark on whatever it is you're looking for, if it's an identical match, all of a sudden it's just there, nothing else needed. People who are trying to solve physiological issues, you have to raise your vibration to such a state. Your pineal gland has to activate because that's where the emergence of a lot of these chemicals come from. So on the physiological side of it, you have to meet the physiology with that energy side. And that's where a lot of us get lost too, is we don't understand the convergence between the physiological and that energy part of us. And if you can raise that up high enough and become that energy part and less the physical part,
rise above it,
the changes happen way faster. Now all of a sudden it's not an issue. I can just look at the thing like a vibration and turn it into the higher vibration and just be like, okay, that's what that is now. And then all of a sudden the pain is gone. But if you're not there in your own level of consciousness, right now you're working your way up the ladder of consciousness going, okay, I get that. And you might get it cognitively, but you're not actively doing it in such a way that it's creating the actual vibration. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The level of consciousness.
How does that work with soul contracts? Do you believe that each of our souls have a contract and we come in here and we agree to experience certain things? We have free will and we can do whatever we want, but there's certain things we want to experience in this life. So we're going to be blocked from having certain abundance in areas because you need to go through these contracts you've agreed to beforehand. Do you believe in that? Or you're like, no, it's none of that's true?
I don't know that none of it's true. I think we make contracts when we're here with ourselves. And I think maybe in past lives you made a contract over something. I've heard so many different ways this is told at this point. It depends on the teaching you're listening to. You know, from biblical kind of understanding that this is the way this stuff works, to recognizing that the Bible, the original Torah portion, was written in a code. And then you have to understand the code, and the code's vibrational. And then you're like, wait a minute, what? So what were they really talking about? It's nothing that you read. It's totally different than what it says. And then you go take it back a step. Like, who was before that? The Gnostics, and they teach it totally different. There's a whole different idea to it, but there's more information on that vibrational aspect, right? And then you go, well, who was before that? And you start talking about the Essenes, and you go before that, like, and it's all this like pathway through it. And then somebody says something like, oh, well, you made a contract. And the bus stop theory, I totally don't buy the bus stop theory anymore.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, you're at the bus stop kind of idea, and everybody's hanging out, and they're like, hey, I'm going to come down with you, and we're going to do this thing so you get your lesson. And then you come down with this person, and I don't know, you know, do you do that, or is it just kind of because I think at some point you get to a level of consciousness, like literally a level of consciousness, where you're released from this.
And you realize you can do whatever you want. If you want to clear something, you clear it. Or not clear is not the right word, I suppose. You get in heart, brain, coherence, and you rise above all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, because then you're not in the same dimension, right?
Yeah, if you believe that I can't do this because there's a soul. I guess my mind goes there when I'm not achieving what I want. I go into, am I being blocked somehow? But it's really, I'm just not there yet.
And I would just say, raise your vibration. Right. So if there's a block, you raise your vibration. If the block is down here and I'm down here with it,
it's such common sense.
Yeah, I'm going to fight with the block. And then all of a sudden, if I say, okay, I'm done with the block, I get it. This is not helping me anymore. That's usually what my face looks like when I do that. And I go, okay, I'm going to raise my vibration. And now I'm going to be up here, and I'm going to say, okay, what does this feel like? There's this undertow. I always call it an undertow that you'll feel of this. And it draws you back in. And when you've effectively stayed here for what I'm going to say is a period of time, even though I don't believe time is relative either, if you stayed here for a period, all of a sudden this just dissipates. It goes away because now this is my solid foundation instead of this having anything to do with it. But that level of vibration is going to either make you or break you. And if this undertow is still under there and you still feel it, I would do work on it. I would take it into my heart. I would be like, Spirit, look at this. What is this? What do I need to do with it? Help me conquer this one, right? I take it and take it even deeper. I go looking for, spirits at this point that I know will talk to me. Yeshua is one of those. John the Baptist is one. I call out to him, like, show me how to fix this. I went to Yeshua one night. I had the craziest experience, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Teach me compassion. Because I figured if I don't understand compassion, I can't understand anything. Like, teach me compassion. What does it mean to be in that kind of compassion? And it was such a high vibration. I can't even explain it. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to stay in this like forever. I'm going to stay in this. And then things will show up and happen. And I'm like, oh, and I say it literally like, oh, you're trying to rob my compassion. The incident, the issue, the thing has really nothing to do with me. But in my head, I'm like, you're not robbing my compassion. This is like the test. I'm going to stay in my compassion. Did I sign up to fight with these kind of people my whole life? I don't think so. I think I have this weird vibrational undertow that maybe came through genetics because of my mother or her mother, right? That vibrational undertow, and it lured me in just like it did them. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm the fourth generation out. If it started with my mother's mother's mother, according to the mice experiment, that should be breaking loose anyway. Right? So there's less work to, and that could answer your question a little bit too. How long has it been in the system? How much work do I really have to do to get it out of the system?
Well, by now I should be over it. The knee thing. and other things.
Well, if it's truly your system giving you information and feedback about not moving forward, which is what you're alluding to, I would dive face first into moving forward. Be pain, fine, be there. I'm here with you. Let's just go. Right?
Mhm.
Let's move into this forward motion and see what happens and see how far it can take us.
That's what I was with the hip thing and the back and the hip. I'm like, I know it's a fear of moving forward. I know it. I can feel it all day long. I guess the knees have been here for 30 or 20 years, I guess. So I'm not as sensitive to the pain, right? I'm so used to it. But it's like my body's like, well, if you're not going to listen to that, then we'll give you something to complain about.
Well, you have to realize too, on a physiological level, like there's every avenue of this. It's not just emotional, or it's not just, spiritual influence. There is a physiological aspect to us. And so, you have a back issue. If your glutes aren't firing, your lower back's probably going to hurt, right? If something's wrong with your knee and you're working with somebody who does physical muscle kind of work, like a neurokinetic therapist, they're going to be looking around your body trying to find a muscle that is either overworking or underworking, and that knee is compensated.
Yeah, I saw a craniosacral lady last week, and she was looking at my the pain. And she's like, you need to squeeze your butt in when you stand up, like really take the pressure off your back and use your hamstrings more. And then, of course, do tons of stretching.
And it all interplays together. And then I would say momentum forward. How fast do you dive into that and actually do it so that it propels you forward through all of this? Because that's all part of it, right? You can't take it apart and say it's only this. It's never only this. Right? The food plays a role, the air plays a role, your spirituality plays a role, your belief system from your childhood plays a role, your mother's belief system from her childhood plays a role. Right? What you surround yourself, your environment, if it's highly negative or dysfunctional, that plays a role.
Yeah, totally. And what's your advice for people right now with the COVID and everything going on and the fear that's running rampant in this world?
Run. Oh my God. Straight into your heart and don't come back out.
Right. Because there's, as you know, so many people are living in so much fear, and then the people losing their businesses, and it's really sad what's happening.
It is, and it's a mess, I think. But I do believe if you stay in heart coherence, it will alter, the vibration itself will start to alter all of that. And if nothing else, it'll alter your belief in the way it's happening, or the way you feel about the way it's happening, because you learn how to stay in this place of love. There was a lot of talk about when this first started, was it early February?
March. No, in January. We shut down in March, but.
In March, but when it first started really rolling and everybody's like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? Nobody knew what was going to happen. And then all of it just kept rolling forward, and the fear was building and building. And there was people that were saying, hey, this is like what this time was meant for, is sit on your prayer mat, get in your corner, go into your little, whatever you call your place, and do your meditations, right? Get into that thing that you do, that practice that you've been saying you're going to practice for, and now's your time. And especially when stuff closed down. And then how many people actually did it? How many people were really sitting there just kind of freaking out and now fighting the masks and fighting, I don't know, all the craziness that goes on. We have a thing around here, I've seen a few people doing it, just cracks me up. Masks are on and everybody's walking through Costco or whatever. And this one old dude I saw, I was dying. He would walk up and be 6 foot away. He was doing the social distancing, but he would pull his mask down and just smile. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I love you so much. So I pulled my mask down and smiled back. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for doing that. He goes, that's our new thing. That's our new thing. And he was, and everybody who saw him do it started doing it too. And I was just like, you are wicked cool. Oh, and just to see the smile, just to see
it's nice. Like that seems like it would strengthen your immune system, just feeling that love in your heart and feeling so good.
And that's a good point, right? If you stay in those higher level chemicals, you are strengthening your immune system. And it is anti-aging, and it is like all of these wonderful, amazing things. It's healing, staying in those oxytocin love bubbles longer.
Yeah, no mask is going to help you with that. You just got to feel it and
come around it somehow, because you do the fear from COVID, the fear from the riots, the fear from the upcoming elections. No matter what you believe or don't believe, or who you like or don't like, it does not matter. That level of fear is affecting everybody. And the longer we stay coherent, the longer more people will stay in oxytocin, and then a higher state of love, compassion, peace, gratitude, whatever it is you can get to in those higher level emotions, the faster some of this stuff will rectify, first of all, I believe, and also the better you'll walk out of it. If you stay in fear, you will not walk out of this well.
no, like throughout the day, when I feel myself picking up collective energy, I know it's not mine, but I feel it's when I leave my apartment and I go anywhere outside and I see people with masks and fear all over them. I just when I get back, I open the crown chakra, root chakra. I just picture the light flowing through me. I get quiet and I just feel so good. I'm like, oh, thank God I have this practice, this routine to go back to.
It makes a huge difference.
Huge.
Yeah.
Otherwise I couldn't handle people. They drive me crazy. But that's their stuff.
I was sitting here playing, and I don't do this stuff necessarily, but I want to show this to you guys because I just think it was cool and it was really fun. I've been talking to my angels a lot lately. And I have these cards, but I don't normally do cards, but they're Archangel Michael cards.
Oh.
Somebody gave them to me years ago, and I was told, go pick up your cards. And I was
do a reading for yourself, you mean?
I guess, right? But it turned into for everybody. So the first card that showed up was this one. Decide to be happy now.
Aw.
Right?
And that was the one you did when you did your own reading?
Well, I don't know if it was for me or if it was everybody I showed these to so far was just like, oh, that's what I needed. I don't think it was just for me. And it actually is a little process if you go through every one of them. So the first one is decide. Fill in the blank. Maybe for you it's not happy. For me it's compassion. Decide to be compassionate now. It is a decision you have to make in order to get there. If you don't make the decision, it's not going to happen.
That's right? So true, right. I probably do need more compassion with people.
Yeah. So the next one, and whatever your emotion is, throw whatever you want into it. The next one is keep your eyes on your intended target. Keep your eyes on your intended target.
Intention.
Your targeted intention. Right? Same thing. Keep your eyes on, what does that mean? It means, because somebody said to me, well, if I decide to be happy and I can't, and then all of a sudden I'm sad, I'm going to focus on the sadness. My eyes go to the sadness and I get even sadder. And I'm like, that's not your targeted intention. This was your targeted intention. So you have to keep your eyes on that targeted intention 100% of the time. And people will tell you, well, that's impossible. No, it's not. It's a practice. You have to practice, right? So that's 2 steps right here. Here's the first step. Here's the second step. The third thing that showed up, which I thought was super funny, I was laughing as I pulled this one up, was honor and trust your feelings.
That's a good one. I love that. I've learned so much over the past year how to trust myself.
Well, and this is actually talking about this.
Decide to
honor and trust your feelings, right? So if my feeling is happy or if my feeling is compassion, I have to start honoring and trusting it. Right? Totally. So this is step 3. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And then my phone rang and I got totally sidetracked. So I set the phone down. And then when I came back and I looked down at the deck and I was just heard pick this card up, this was the next card.
Lean on God and the angels for support.
For support. Right? So if you're running into issues, if you're like, I can't find my happiness, go to your angel team. Ask, what does happiness feel like? That's how I found compassion. I kept asking, what does compassion feel like? Because I didn't know. Nobody ever modeled compassion for me. And then all of a sudden I had this overwhelming fear of compassion. I was just like, what? And even happiness. I was doing this with somebody the other day and their thing was happiness. And she was like, oh my gosh. Because she asked her angels. She asked, what does happiness feel like? And she just busted up laughing and couldn't stop laughing for the rest of the session.
I love that.
Like, I think you got an answer. But this is steps. This is steps.
Yeah,
Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You can't fail if you do this.
it's pretty awesome. I'll have to write that in the notes of this video below.
Okay.
I'll have to get those from you. It's so true. It seems so easy, doesn't it? Like it's so, or not easy, but simple process.
It is simple. It's a very simple process, but it's a practice, and the practice has to be every step you take. It can't just be a sit in the corner and do it for an hour or 20 minutes or whatever a day. It's every step you take. You have to keep your eyes focused on that targeted intention of happiness. All the time, all the time.
True. Do you write down your goals, objectives, your feelings that you want to feel, or however you want to word it?
I don't necessarily write that kind of stuff down. I write all kinds of stuff down, but not necessarily that.
The more business goals you would write?
Well, business goals, I have a little like notebook. I keep that kind of stuff in, but they're simple. They're not hard, right? My next goal right now is getting out a course on heart coherence, and the goal is to have it ready by I think the 28th is the launch date. So I'm actually teaching a live course the 25th. We're almost a week out. The 25th, I'm launching a live course for heart coherence. It'll be on 3 different days over the weekend. And so I have that written down, but I don't write down a whole lot of stuff like that. I get information and then I act on the information.
So your course, is there just people log in, so you're going to do like a Zoom call with them?
Yeah, it'll be on Zoom. I can have 100 people in it. So I'm telling people, if you want in, you better get in. It's almost full now. But there is still some space in there. I'll send you the link and you can stick it in the bottom of this.
Yeah. And how much is it, and how 3 days you said?
Yeah, it'll be over 3 different Saturdays, consecutive Saturdays. It's $77.
How many hours each day?
Anywhere from 2 to 3 is what I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. You go over the process of creating heart and brain coherence. And
yeah, we're going over the process of that. We are doing the ladder of awareness, so how to actually use your physical system to clear subconscious anything. There's actually a way you can do it that's super easy. And then we're going to go back in on the last day and light the whole system up. So we're going to light up all the chakras. We're going to be heart coherent. We're going to turn on the pineal gland. And then we're going to step out. We're going to go find either Christ consciousness or source energy. Just so you can feel it, so you can recognize you're no different. You're no different than that, and you are that energy. It's not different, it's the same. If you can feel it and you recognize it, all this other stuff gets super easy.
right. It's just a process of learning to be in that feeling and emotion, which is such a wonderful place to be. It's like, why don't we always want to be there? We do. We're just working on
We forget.
doing it. Yeah, completely. This is perfect timing to people out in the world right now facing everything that they're facing, to learn how to get in heart-brain coherence.
Yeah, I think it's super important. Super, super. And not just getting there. What can you do once you're there? The technology of the system is crazy once you start realizing it. It's so interesting, the things you can actually do inside a coherent body. It's amazing to me.
I mean, like the doors open seamlessly and things just happen.
Yeah, the synchronicities, those kind of interesting things, but also healing your body, giving other people energy to do things inside their own bodies. I don't know, getting out and escaping and going other places and talking to people that we think have died and moved on, when the energy is still the energy, right? And getting those kind of messages or information. Or
Does that, you just said helping other people do that. Is that kind of like their strength in numbers kind of thing? Like your energy focusing on the same thing?
Well, think about the whole idea that you are source energy. We're all the same energy. None of us are different. So if we're focusing an intent on the same
more people.
purpose, yeah. And even scripturally, it's interesting. There's ancient scripture that says, where 2 or more are gathered. Where 2 or more are gathered, there I am also. And so you think about that and you're like, what does that mean? Strength in numbers. It's that whole idea. You're not going to break a bundle as easy as you are, just one. And if you're sitting there by yourself, and I think this is interesting too, because and right now that's exactly what's happening to everybody. You have been pushed into a place where you're locked in your house, you're wearing a mask, you feel like you're all alone. right? And it's just like sticking people in this place where you're feeling totally separated and set aside from all of humanity. And I'm just like, oh, like it's the worst possible thing that could be going on in a world that's sick. We need to be that bundle. We need to be that interconnected togetherness, because that's part of what heals.
That's why the Zoom was so popular, right, over the past few months, and their stock has gone way up.
Oh yeah, it's gone crazy.
I don't have any, by the way.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, didn't see that one coming.
On July 30th, oh, I can't think of his name. I can look it up real quick. The guy running I think he used to work for CIA, and now he's helping arrest and find all the child pedophilia, the people involved in that, and he's helping rescue the children. On July 30th, he's having like a worldwide, like everyone get together and focus and pray and put all your energy towards finding and healing and rescuing and
wow,
children. So I can't think of it. You know what I'm talking about? He has a underground something, but it's pretty awesome. But can I tell you real quick? I just want to look at it. I have my history right here.
Yeah, if you can find it, I would love to know. That's amazing. Because there's so much of that kind of stuff going on. It's incredible. The stuff, and I think it's part of the unveiling that's about to happen.
Yes.
It's part of the knowledge that's about to be revealed. Is all of this stuff is about to come into full light. And if you're heart coherent, and I said this earlier, if you're heart coherent, you'll make it through it. If you're not, my guess is it's going to be a really super rough road.
Oh, big time. And it just keeps saying it's only going to get worse. And if you aren't centered and balanced right now, yeah, it's a rough road ahead. Yeah. It's called Operation Underground Railroad is the name of the YouTube. I can text it to you. But yeah, he said today on July 30th, everyone's going to get together collectively. And this sounds really cool.
That is really cool.
Actually, I'll just text you the video here that I listened to. And
yeah, I put the link underneath. Put the link underneath here for people to find. Okay. What was his name?
Tim Ballard.
I've never heard of him. There's so many people doing this kind of work right now that it's hard to keep up with everybody.
He makes videos on YouTube's about YouTube about rescuing children, and it's just very touching, very heartfelt.
Very cool. Very cool.
But it's true. I love all of this. That's banding together and bringing people together during these tough times. I mean, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? It's just, we got to go through all this to get there.
Yeah, I read something on Instagram the other day. It just made me laugh. It said something to the effect of, you don't believe that you've been programmed or lied to or given false information because you've been programmed and lied to and given false information.
I know.
But people just don't see it because it's such the norm. It's such a normal, and it's not who you are. It's not what this is. It's not the intended purpose.
Yeah, I guess if you just listen to mainstream media your whole life and you live in this bubble, then you wouldn't know.
Yeah, time to get out of the bubble.
Time to awaken. Let me see if I had other questions for you. Is there any, when we talked last, you had said that there was something new you wanted to talk about. Was that, am I correct?
Did I say, did you write it down what it was?
You didn't tell me. Just make something up. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, how funny.
I can't see. I don't like wearing glasses.
I know I have my class coming up, and so I would encourage people to take a look at that. If you don't understand heart coherence or how to do it, learn it, because it'll make a huge difference. I think knowing that you actually have access to the other side, to God, to your spirits, to your spirit guides, to your own spirit, that part to me is huge. If you're not talking to your own spirit or trying to live this life through your own spirit, that makes a huge difference, is recognizing that part of you and then actively walking in that part of you, walking in that spirit.
What if someone's never spoken to their spirit before? Like, I have a friend who told me the other day, she's like, I've never tried to talk to my soul or spirit before. How do you do that?
Well, I can walk you through a process that I take people through, and that's what I would tell people to do. It's takes up to 2 hours for me to get somebody totally through it. And what we're basically doing is desynchronizing energy of your life so we can actually get to your spirit. because there's so much piled up inside of you that keeps you away from it. That's the program, right? It's part of the programming that we were all brought into. And if we can start to take some of that apart, it's an easier road to get to that part of you that's the internal, eternal part is what I call it. And once you sit in that energy, most people recognize it instantly. They're just like, oh. And then we just like hang out there for a while. And then we walk you back forward with that spirit. We walk you back forward to however old you are in this period of time. And then integrate. And the goal is to remember, don't forget yourself, right? Don't forget that part of you. And then you start walking in, you get heart coherent, and that's where you keep meeting that spirit part of you. Every time you get coherent, your heart opens up wider and wider, that part of you just emerges and it just becomes more and more a part of your existence.
It's so huge.
The powers that be, the powers that are supposedly controlling all of this and causing all this mayhem, have no authority over that. Right? They created the programming, they created all of this stuff. They have no authority over your spirit. They can cover it, they can hide it from you, they can make you think they stole it. But once you know what it is and you know where it is, and you can get your energy sphere operating around you and get all this, back up and running again, they got nothing.
Right. You just gotta, once you learn the process of connecting, I mean, that's the basic right there. I can't imagine not being able to do that, because that keeps me grounded. And that's, I've been doing that for so long now. It's just, I can't imagine life without it.
Yeah, I can't either. And years of
right
until, it's just like, oh, wow, it's that simple. That's all I needed.
I know.
I would tell people, go to my website, mindrewire.com. There's a little link up in the top corner that says book a breakthrough session. If you're interested in that sort of work, get on that and book one of those little calls, and I'll walk you through how we're going to do it.
And get the ball rolling, and it's so much easier with doing it with another person, especially you're so good at it. But having that rather than struggling yourself and being like, am I doing it right? What am I doing? Like, just go work with you and get the ball rolling on that.
And at least the part of meeting your spirit, because if you know a whole bunch of other stuff, just having that piece, a lot of people will tell me that's the piece I'm missing. Right? I did all this work, I did all that work, I did this thing, I did that thing. Like, what am I missing? And it's like, oh, let's go meet your spirit and see what happens. And all of a sudden, everything starts clicking.
Oh, wow.
Like, serious. That was the thing.
I
think that is the thing. Because once you understand that and you're truly engaging in your spirit on I want to say daily, like a minute by minute basis, it is who you are when you walk. Right? It changes everything. And it doesn't stop the mayhem. I hate to tell everybody this, the world will keep happening because there are people, everybody's at a different level of consciousness, right? So no matter what level of consciousness they're at, they're going to be there, but you're going to be at this different level of consciousness, and you'll be able to stay in compassion because you can see it differently. It looks different from up here than it looks from down here, right? If I'm down here looking at it, it looks totally different. If I'm up here looking at it from eyes of compassion, I can just be like, oh. Whew. Okay. And they'll be okay. We just all have to get it. We all have to keep doing it.
What about these protesters? And because a lot of the spiritual people say, be neutral and observe, but don't engage in it, because you don't want to play in the matrix. You want to realize, you're the same thing analogy you just said, you're up here and you can view what's going on. But then the other people are like, well, no, I want to be active. I want to protest because I think this is wrong. And I want to make sure I'm going to fight against the new world order, or whatever you want to call it, the people that are the elite power that are in control. So how do you handle something like that?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. It depends on your level of consciousness. So if I'm in a level of consciousness that says I need to protest, I need to get in the mix, I need to make sure people know this is wrong, that's your level of consciousness. If I'm at a level of consciousness that looks down and says none of this is real anyway, you guys are participating in something that is false and totally, it's not like
it's the matrix.
Yeah. You're participating in something that's not even And you can stand there and look at it, and people will say, well, aren't you afraid of dying? No, because I'm at this level of wherever that I'm at, that I'm just like in so much compassion. To me, that's just a step. It's not an issue. Right?
So
Does it make sense? So it's a
if we
level of consciousness.
all
It's a
were at this
different
level,
Mhm.
then we wouldn't all have this exist in the first place, right?
Right.
If we were all
Yeah.
have
It wouldn't be
consciousness.
an issue. And the people that are, I'm trying to think of like what did you just call them? The ones that
the
are,
protests. Oh, the
No.
1% elite. The
yeah, the elite, whatever they call them, the Illuminati, isn't that a word for them?
deep state,
You know who
cabal,
David,
whatever.
who David Icke is?
Yeah, of course.
I love the work of this man. If you haven't read some of his stuff, the prices of his books are going through the roof right now. So
His book's like that thick.
he's got a ton of them. That one particular one is that thick, but he's got a ton of them.
I'm more of an
I
online
would
person.
suggest even get on Gaia if you're not on Gaia, because he has a program on Gaia right now that he's,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
and it's just super interesting. If you can understand what he's saying or what people like him who are talking about this stuff are saying, it will actually level up your level of consciousness. Just by
No,
way
I get
of,
it. I really like him.
yeah, by way of understanding, knowledge will help you raise your consciousness, and in that different level of consciousness, you're going to hit a different vibration. So there's more than one way to come at it. If you can understand this thing about the Illuminati and how the 1% controls and all this blah, 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 but you're staying way up here in unconditional love.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, like do your thing. Maybe someday you'll wake up. There is something, and I talked about this not too long ago with a group of people about pure evil. Like, what is evil? Do you believe in evil? Because there's teachings out there that say there is no evil. It's only good. Everything is only good. Everything is only from God.
Well, in the 3D world, it's polarity, right?
It is polarity, but there also is there are beings out there who are not what we would consider God-like beings. They're
Like
not
the
on
reptilians, you mean?
Well, and I don't know about necessarily reptilians. I'm not sure if they're considered good or bad, but evil by itself can be defined as doing something deliberately, causing deliberate harm is evil, right? If you're causing deliberate harm, that is evil. And that's what that percentage is, that 1% you're talking about.
Right.
Because it's very deliberate. They're doing this, they have been doing it for thousands of years, very deliberate.
Right. This is not anything new.
But whenever I do catch myself getting caught up in it, and I'm like, oh, I just wish they'd arrest these people, and I wish something would happen, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, is my daily life impacted by them? I'm creating that. It's like, I don't need to get so worked up over it.
Be an observer and just like focus on Kelli. What does Kelli need to do?
And even more than that, be an observer inside your heart space and do what your spirit needs Kelli to do. Because if I'm doing what you just said and I'm just being an observer and doing what Christy needs to do, all bets are off, right? 100% of the time. I don't know what will happen. But if I'm being an observer inside my heart space and I'm doing what spirit tells Christy to do, now I've got legs to stand on because I'm getting adequate information. I'm getting real-time information.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's no second guessing because it's not in polarity. It came from my heart. There is no polarity.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why when I go to bed every night, I do the go quiet, do the breathing exercise, and just as a habit, and then first thing in the morning, and then throughout the day, just because I'm so aware now when it happens. I'm like, I'm going crazy. I can't buy into that.
Oh,
Into your heart space.
I wanted to say also, I think it's so cool how science and spirituality have finally come together. People don't think spirituality is so, crazy and woo-woo. Like the work you do combines both of them, because now there's scientific proof of connecting of the higher self, of the concept or the universe, God and whatnot. And
I love that because it's Dr. Joe's work and your work and Gregory, all those guys.
And it's just interesting because people will still deny it. People will still just be like, you're kind of weird. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, and they'll come to me anyway and be like, okay, I can't get through this. Like, what do you, and I don't even have to tell them what we're doing, but they can all of a sudden get some freedom and shift, but they still don't want to know. That's a level of consciousness, right? So you got to meet them where they are. You just have to be there, meet people where they are. Stay in your higher level of consciousness, right? I have to stay here, but I still have to meet them wherever they're at. I can't just assume that they're going to shift way up here, and it probably ain't going to work that way, right? They're down here. You got to meet them where they are, especially if they don't believe in any of this. You have like no belief system that you're made out of energy, or understanding that the energy you are made out of can change and morph, and you can do different things.
Hard to resonate with someone that
You have such differing beliefs.
You know, possibly. I think that's part of my training right now in compassion. I talked about, you know, how that's like my field of effort right now is all about compassion, and it opens that door up really wide, where it doesn't matter if you believe what I believe or not. If you're stuck and this will help, come on in.
Oh yeah, you're out there helping all the people for sure. You have a great skill set, that ability to do that, which is pretty awesome.
It's fun. It's fun.
I was just gonna say something. I don't remember what it was now.
Do you meditate?
Whatever my version of that is, yeah. Every day.
Because everyone's different, right? Just like mine is just.
Go ahead.
I would say I do walking meditations a lot. If I'm out walking, I'm in my heart, right? I'm gazing as the sun's out. I'm gazing into the sun.
It's nice.
Right? Trying to find the horizon line, and I'm walking across
it's right here.
the horizon. Yeah. I've been doing that ever since.
Now let me get out of the way. I've been blocking the sun this whole time.
You're blocking my sun. And that's literally like the perfect place, and even a little bit higher. You can gaze right into the sun. You know, it's funny to me, they told you for years, don't look at the sun, you'll go blind. But if it's at the horizon line, even a little bit higher, you can stare right into it, and it actually will help heal your body. It's the energy that you're made out of.
I took this picture, by the way.
Oh, did you really?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
It was in Capitola, Santa Cruz, somewhere.
Very cool.
Somewhere around here. But yeah, hopefully the science, well, I know it has been, the science and spirituality coming together has just been huge for people.
I think
the non-believers.
Well, you know, and wherever they're at, I just keep going back to it. It's just a level of consciousness.
Oh.
And if we keep stepping up, everybody will keep stepping up.
When someone wants to make a decision in their heart-brain coherence and they are struggling with it, they don't know, is this the right thing? How do I know if it's my mind telling me or if it's my heart? Because it could be so programmed for so many years to think that that's the right thing to do. How do you tell the difference?
The litmus test is right, wrong, yes, no, can, can't, do, don't, should, shouldn't, will, won't, right? All of those things. That's the litmus test. If I'm up here, I'm doing that.
What if they think they want to?
Then the answer is yes. There isn't.
What if they've just been programmed this whole time and it's not really what they want, but they don't know.
So listen to the question that you asked. You said, if you're in heart-brain coherence, if I'm in coherence, I'm in my heart.
I mean, if you don't know if you are or not.
If I ask the question in my heart, I will get a yes or a no.
Yes, and it's very clear. I mean, that happens. I'm like, oh, this is so easy.
That's how you know. That is the difference. If I'm in my brain, I go through all the stuff. And then I start trying to formulate.
Yes.
I try to start to figure it out. And then that's when you know, okay, that's the wrong answer.
I just answered my own question.
Right? Let's make sure everybody else gets it. If you're in your heart, the answer is going to be a single answer. It's not going to be a dual answer, and it's not going to be a yes or this, or a no or maybe. No, it's not that.
And you'd say it's fast, it's clear. Like, do I want to eat this salad right now for lunch? Yes or no? Yes. No, I don't know. Well, maybe. I don't know. Then it's like, no, you don't.
Now you flip back up into your brain. Right. So I always tell people, don't second guess it, because if you start second guessing, now you're back up in the polarity and you're playing the game. You're in the program.
And it may be that you actually do want this salad, but you let your brain talk you out of it, or say, because that happens too, right?
100% of the time. If you go back into your brain, you're back in the, should I, shouldn't I? And I just say, if you ate the salad the second you heard that, it probably would have been the best salad you've ever had in your whole life. right? But you have to go, that's the answer I heard, that's what I'm going to do, and B, don't second guess it, don't question it. You just do what you heard. If I go into my heart space and I hear go stand on the corner at 4th and Main or whatever, and I'm like, seriously, why would I do that? And I've actually done that before. I'm like, seriously? And if I go in my head, I'll start trying to figure out, well, what's over there? What am I looking for? If I'm in my heart, I just go over there and stand for a minute. Usually the crazy coolest things happen. If I'm in my head and I'm like, and I go over there, I'm looking for something, I miss what it was that was supposed to happen. And I'll catch it later, right? All of a sudden later, you're like, oh, that was the thing.
Oh, it's such a great example.
Whole thing. I had this happen in Vegas. I had it happen in Vegas. The craziest thing.
You stood on the corner in Vegas?
I was actually sitting on the corner of a row of machines in, I think, the Flamingo. I shouldn't be telling the story. And I'm sitting there playing, eating a sandwich, talking on the phone. And this lady was actually doing a session for me because she was testing out some new protocol that she was working on. And I was like sitting there being one of her guinea pigs, and I'm playing this machine while all this is going on. And this guy walked up. And so I kept talking about levels of consciousness. Make me more conscious. I kept telling God that, make me more conscious. This guy walked up out of nowhere. He just like, and he stood there for a second. And he's looking at my food, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at the machine. And I finally put the phone down, and I was like, can I help you? And he goes, I just need a little bit of money. I'm just hungry. I need something. And my first initial, because I was sidetracked with my phone, I was sidetracked with the machine, and I was sidetracked with my own food, I just like looked at him. I made a face at him. And he was just like, he was flustered. He was just like, and he took off. And in like that second, I was like, oh, that was God. I was like, dang it, I just screwed that up. And I put the sandwich down. I clicked off the phone. I walked away from a machine that had money in it. I just walked away from it. And I ran after him. Do you know that guy had disappeared?
He disappeared?
He disappeared. He was gone. And it wasn't just a matter of seconds. It wasn't minutes. It was like he was there. He said what he said. I did what I did. He took off. I went after him. It happened that fast. And he was gone. And I was like, ah. And all I heard in my heart was, pay attention. And I was just like, give me another chance. Show back up.
Did you get another chance?
Show back up.
Did he come back ever?
No.
Screwed up.
Those little pivotal moments, right? The second you get the word, you have to do what you heard, and you can't second guess it. Even if it's you asking the question, should I eat the salad? And you hear a yes. If you start second guessing it, you've missed something. You will miss something. Right? These riots and some of this craziness that's going on right now, and I don't know if those are going on so much anymore, but even the COVID stuff, like it's all getting bigger again. I ask, can I go into that store without a mask on?
You can get fined.
I won't go into the store, or I'll put my mask on. Right? I ask because I don't like wearing a mask. I think it's stupid. I'll just say it. I'm not a believer in the COVID. Although I know it's there and I know it's affecting people, I believe it's a level of consciousness.
Right, you can rise above it. You don't have to play in it.
We've been programmed.
I love this whole bit about focusing. When you take your attention, or when your mind's filled with other things, you're blocked from receiving the good information or seeing what's in front of your eyes. So you're missing out on life because you're like in your head, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. Or I got blah, 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 blah. And it's like, just chill out and just let things come to you.
Or be so aware that when it does walk up to you, you're not going to miss it. If I am doing, right, I'm sitting at the game and got my sandwich and talking to the healer on the phone, doing whatever we were doing, I don't even know, and God walks up, I just got to be aware. I have to be, right? I don't
acknowledge it and be like, oh, this is awesome. I got to pay attention.
Yeah. And I don't know. I still look at that and I'm just like, ugh. So now every time a person walks up, I'm like, God, is that you? I will ask, I'll put my hands on my heart and I'll ask, is that you? And I always, 100% of the time, hear a yes. I haven't yet heard a no.
This lady walked up outside my apartment yesterday morning,
and she looked a little scraggly. Maybe, I don't know if she was homeless or what it was, but it was like 6 a.m. I was out taking Sammy out, and she's just like, I've walked like 500 miles. I don't know how long I've been walking. I've been walking forever, and I can't find this road. And she's like, it's Tully Road. I'm like, oh, that's nowhere near here. That's, a good 25 minutes away. And I noticed myself, I wouldn't go near her because my guard went up immediately because I didn't know what she wanted. And then after she walked away, I said, there's a bus stop up the street. She's like, oh, okay, I'll go get on the bus. And I was like, why did I have that reaction? Like, I was scared to go up to her and talk to her. I didn't know what she was going to do. All she asked me is for directions. And I think she wanted a ride, but I didn't offer a ride. And then I felt bad. I'm like, should I have offered her a ride? Why did I act that way?
So here's heart coherence in action. She walks up, goes straight into heart coherence. Is there something I'm supposed to do here? I hear a yes, and I stand there and participate, and I keep asking as she's telling her story and you're interacting. Get heart coherent, and then you'll find out real quick what is you're supposed to, do I give her bus money? Do I offer her a ride? And it'll be assorted things. There's a guy that used to live in the last city we lived in, I had a trolley he would pull with, like a dolly, packed up with his stuff. And like the distance this guy walked every day had to have been incredible. You'd see him all over town. And then at night, he would be heading back towards the main part of the city. And I saw him one day, and he was just standing there. And as people would pass by, he would kind of look, and then as I got closer, he kind of did his thing, and then he went like that. And I was like, so I pulled over. I'm like, okay, do I have something I'm supposed to do here? And I hear a yes. And I'm like, all right. I pull over. He couldn't talk. I've never tried to talk to him before. I've seen him everywhere. I never tried to talk to him. He couldn't talk. He just opened up this piece of paper and showed me an address. And I was like, oh, okay. So I put it in my phone, and I go grab his little trolley and open the Jeep, and I'm trying to like shove this like huge, it was craziness. I was like, oh my gosh. And get back in the Jeep, and he's still standing outside. So I push the door open for him, and he kind of motions on the seat. And I like asking my heart, am I supposed to do something? And I hear a no. And I just looked at him. I said, you're fine, get in. What I found out was he wanted something to put on the seat, so he didn't sit on the seat because he was so dirty. And I was like, oh wow, like you're just a sweetheart. Oh, yeah. I don't know how old, he's probably older than dirt. I have no idea how old this guy was. But I took him to his place and let him back out, and, whatever. And it was just interesting to me. It's like, it's those moments, I think, when you ask and you get the answer. If I had stood there and said, ooh, do I want this guy in my car? Like, he smells like, he clearly has not had a shower in a while, right? He's been out walking all over the place. Like, every time you see him, I would smell the same way, I'm sure. Right? But if I'm in here asking, I'm like this, going, ew. If I'm in here asking, I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? And it was totally a non-issue. It was like, it was interesting. I was like, oh, wow. I do think that's how it works. If I ask in here, my response to it will be different because the answer came from my heart, not my head. That's the difference.
Yeah, I don't know if I was in my heart or head yesterday. I loosened up as I was talking to her, and then I just gave her directions, and she seemed fine with it. She's like, okay, cool, and walked away, and it ended up being fine. But I don't want to be the person that I go up and I'm like, oh, I can't talk to you. No, you're gonna hurt me. You're gonna do, like, just like you say, be in heart, brain, and understand what you need to do.
Yeah, and I think as we're talking about this, some of the background that I'm hearing is make sure to mention, the idea of evil. We just talked about that. There will be people that you will come up to and ask that question, and you'll hear a no. I have not had that happen, but I am locked in a place where there's just inherently good people. I believe the city I live in right now is not a place where you're going to go find the kind of stuff that we've been talking about on the evil end of it. But if you're down there in those riots or you're participating in some of these big cities, you better be asking, is this somewhere I should be participating? And I would even get very specific and start asking, where do I need to stand to keep myself safe? Because if you don't know and you're up here going, man, I just want to go over there and start whooping up on those people like they are. like, I don't even know, like it gets out of hand super fast and it's a mob mentality. So if you're heart coherent, my guess is you're probably not going to step into that.
No, you're stuck in the brain at that point.
Yeah. And you will hear walk away. There will be times where you're here, no, don't participate. So make sure you understand that. Just because I haven't heard it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It will happen.
All right. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Too, you're always fun to talk to. Always, always.
I love it. And I want to include the link to your class this 25th?
Yes.
July 25th?
Coming the 25th, yeah.
And is your book on your website? It's available for download, right?
It sure is. There's a button that says get your free PDF version or something. Yeah, just click on that and it'll shoot right over to you.
Nice. And if someone does the top right of your website that says book a session, is that a half hour, 1 hour? You just choose whatever hour, what time you want, and how much?
Nope. So the free one is 15 minutes, and we're just talking. You're giving me a bit of your storyline, so I can tell you if what I do I think can possibly help. If learning heart coherence is something that resonates, then we can talk a little bit more how we can work together. There's another button in that same area. It's the same button. It'll give you a different option where you can book a half-hour appointment for $75. And I tell people pick one topic, pick one issue, and we'll get heart coherent to that issue and do some really hardcore work on it in that 30 minutes.
Oh,
but
nice.
You have to come in with a concise this, right? Come in with what it is you want to work on, and we'll work on that specifically.
Yeah, and they can talk about it with you during the 15-minute free one if they choose to start with that.
Yeah, if they wanted to do it that way, absolutely. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Christy.
You're very welcome. It was fun. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the ocean.
I know. Anytime. Come to my house anytime.
I would love to. Love to.
All right. I'll be chatting with you soon.
All right. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember when you told me you believe in something and you said you're done pretending that fate